Time ago, I spoke to our correspondent Nick Ravenscroft, who is in the area of Fukushima, where people are now being moved back even further by the emergency services.
The exclusion zone, which was set at 10 kilometres, it had been extended from 3 kilometres to 10, but we were stopped well short of that by a police roadblock, and they told us that it wasn't safe to go any further. Now, the 10-kilometre exclusion zone, the authorities earlier today were saying that anyone living beyond that wouldn't be affected if there was any kind of meltdown of the reactor. But where we were stopped, we were told, was 60 kilometres away. So clearly on the ground, there was a concern that getting anywhere nearer would be potentially pretty dangerous. Now, what we saw standing by the roadside for a couple of hours was a great deal of activity. We saw people leaving the area, convoys, queues heading in the opposite direction, away from the area where the nuclear reactors were. We saw military vehicles with their sirens going, making loudspeaker announcements, and we also saw busloads of people. It wasn't a panic, it wasn't people with their cars loaded up with their possessions, but it was definitely people queuing to get away from the area. And what isn't clear is whether this is simply those people living within the 10-kilometre exclusion zone, evacuation zone, who were leaving, or whether it was people somewhat further afield who decided that they were not going to take any chances and they were going to up sticks as well.
Japan's Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency has said that serious damage to the reactor container is unlikely despite this large explosion. That yellow circle there is the area where the explosion took place, and you can see that there is something missing from the building. Some reports from the scene say it may be the roof of the reactor building has fallen in. And as we watch these pictures, let me just tell you some other news coming from other parts of Japan. The self-defense forces have said that troops have found around 300 to 400 bodies in a coastal city which was virtually wiped out by the tsunami. That's the very latest from Japan. You're watching BBC News.